Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Graybeards. My name is Wayne, and this was what we think. I wanted to make sure everybody understood this is what we think. And to my left over here, my left, is my good friend Bug. Good
What's
morning,
up,
sir.
great bearders? I'm a
Yeah.
little less gray today, Took my
Yeah,
vitamins. Took my
no,
vitamins. Yeah.
there's some
hmm
gray in there. At least there's some gray. Like you got your soul patch right here, you got a little gray
Hey,
going
the
right here.
producer said I barely qualified for the show.
Yeah, but don't forget about the
Yeah.
eyebrow. Your eyebrows are still pretty gray.
Eyebrows too. It's not gray eyebrows, it's gray beards.
That's true. It is gray beards. But
Yeah.
yeah, we do this every time, right? We call each other before we start the show because we don't really script anything. And I've said that a million times, and my mustache is out of control. Um, we sat and talked for over an hour on the phone about stuff we were going to talk about, stuff that was going on. And one of the topics I wanted to bring up, we talked about that when you got to go to the bathroom, right? You feel it going. But you're nowhere near a bathroom, right? And you're like, I got this under control. We talked about this morning, and I was just dying laughing.
um, your boy is having some technical difficulties.
No,
Can
you
you
can't
see
hear
me?
me.
Wayne?
I
I
see
can
you,
hear
and
you.
I hear you fine.
Good. The only thing is, I can't sit there. It is. Couldn't see you. Yeah, but go
No,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead and tell them about it.
Well,
Go
yeah.
ahead. I was one.
We were talking about having that urge to go to the bathroom, and it'll like hit you. Like right now, it's like you've got to find a bathroom. Old number two, be a turtle head poking out, drawing a picture in your underwear. That kind of scenario, right? Where you're like, I got this, and you get there, and it'll for me anyways, it comes in cycles, right? It'll like subside, right? Ooh. And then it'll come back like, hey, I told you, your body's telling you you got to go to the bathroom, and there ain't nothing you're gonna do to stop
Well, you constantly hitting the snooze button. Basically, is what you're saying. You get some.
it.
You get some darn urge, and you like, nope. I need to finish this conversation. Nope. I need to get this report out. Nope. I need to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Now you just blowing by all these warning signs. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think
Finally, when you yield to this thing, your body's like, nah, bruh, I gave you warning. Now I'm coming.
hmm
And so you
yeah.
use the term dialing up the pressure.
hmm
Now, the reason why you were saying your body does that is it's not for this time. It's for next time. You know what I'm saying? Next time, bruh, you would heed these warnings. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm dialing up the pressure. The closer you get to your goal, is what you were saying.
Yeah.
The more pressure is applied. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It seems like it would subside, then it knows that, you know, you're about to relieve yourself.
Yeah. It gets the you froze up,
A blitz, full blitz on this guy. We're
right?
coming from all angles. I thought it was hilarious. Hey, can you hear me, Wayne? Can you hear me?
I can, but you glitched out there for a second. But yeah,
Yeah.
uh, your
So
household must be waking up and everybody jumping on your Wi-Fi.
it must be, man. It said my internet is unstable. And
hmm
that falls right into what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Your
it's like get a little pause in there.
your
Exactly.
ability to resist, yeah, your ability to
But
resist is
but
unstable.
has everybody else experienced this, or is just me? Right. The closer you get to being able to relieve yourself, it
Yeah.
it like takes like 5 steps higher. Like you're like doing the little I can't hold it. You have you're making diamonds with your butt cheeks trying to hold this back, right? And then you're trying to get you're like to the point where I don't care if the car is running. I'm running in the house or wherever. You're trying to get the car out. You're trying to get everything out. Do I lock the door? Do I not lock the door? you get to your key to the house and you're trying to get it in. You're fumbling with everything, and it's like it's like you're not going to make it kind of scenario. Like you're going to leave something in your underwear besides the drawing that turtle head's causing in your underwear. And then you get into the bathroom and then you're fussing with if you're wearing a belt or you can't get that top button undone. Am I the only one that's had this experience?
You get in the bathroom, there's no TP.
Yeah, well,
There's
and
no TP.
that's a
You
whole
know,
nother,
that's
that's
a
a
whole
whole,
nother issue,
that's
bro.
a whole nother scenario right there. I don't even
I
care
tell
at
you
that
what,
point.
that
At that point, I don't even really care because at least I have evacuated my system, and then that's another problem, right?
yeah, that's hey, I'll
I
tell you what
mean,
happened to me, man. I doggone made it, successfully excretiated the unwanted waste material. I
mhm.
had the TP and I fumbled the ball. Boom. The TP dropped out of my hand, hit my knee, and rolled under the stall. I was like, oh my God. Ah! Luckily for me, there was a comedian on the other side of the stall and he rolled it back under there.
He's like, here you go, man.
I'm like, bruh, dude, lunch on me.
It's like, let me, how can I repay you for your kindness?
Dude, you must have been there. You had to have been there to roll that toilet people back on. Next thing here with me laughing like, man, thanks, because I was in dire straits. Yeah, man. I was like, dang, I'd have made it. But to your point, your body is letting you know, don't play with me. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
When I
and
give
I've
you
heard,
these,
I mean, you can hold your urine or your pee for quite a long time, right? But
mhm.
there's been times with that as well. I mean, driving home, right? I got 30 some mile drive from work. And I'm like less than 4 miles from the house or 5 miles or whatever. And I'm like, I got to pull over. I'm going to pee my pants.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
find a little place to pull over and I pretend like I'm checking the tire on the thing, on the car, like something's wrong with the car.
yeah. Okay, you got
Instead
to
of,
be undercover,
yeah,
especially in the age of cell phones. Oh, look at this guy.
yeah,
He's
there's like
urinating.
video. Yeah, check on this guy pissing alongside the road, whatever.
And then
But that's
you
a
got all kinds of
But that's a
well,
whole nother. But I just
hold
let me
up.
know down in the comments if this has happened to you, or is it just me? But I've known people. My cousin, he swears to me that the whole time he was in basic training, he never went to number two. And I was
That's
like, is that
hard
even?
to believe. I don't think that's
I
hard
don't know
possible.
how that's possible. You would be there. I just don't think that's possible because basic training was what 6 weeks when we went through,
Oh yeah.
and he
Yeah.
went through. He went through I think year and a half, 2 years before I did back in the '80s. So
Mhm.
I was just like, I don't know how that's possible, dude. There's no way that your body
You
is
don't
that.
remember.
I mean, it's
And
like,
I will, to his point, I did go quite a while without going. Maybe it was stress. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't 6 weeks. It
yeah,
could have been two.
I'm envious of people that can go they wake up in the morning and that their body is in a routine where they go to the bathroom in the morning. Some people are in the evening when they get home. My daughter doesn't like to use public restrooms, and if she doesn't have to, she has the ability to hold it. I don't know how. I don't I don't have that ability. When I gotta
Nah.
go, I gotta go.
Yeah. There are urine samples of mine in at least 1,000 yards. Okay. So if you, I'm guilty as charged. I remember, I'll tell you this here though. This was funny. I told my daughter, Peaches, when she was growing up. Uh, I got up one morning and she says, Daddy, I made some Kool-Aid. I was like, okay. I said, let me taste it.
Oh my
No
goodness.
lie, man. This is the Kool-Aid, right?
Mm.
I did this. I dropped the glass of Kool-Aid and immediately ran to the bathroom. I had to. I what happened was she had so much sugar in this darn Kool-Aid that it just gave my digestive system a boost. And it was like I dropped the glass, dropped whatever the container I was trying. I ran to the bathroom and jumped on the toilet. That was how much sugar was in this stuff. I was like, girls, this is anybody that can't use the bathroom to drink this Kool-Aid. It was lady. There may be some kind of medical term. I don't know. It has so much sugar. And I think sugar, like when people go on this keto thing, that's one of the things you get constipated because you don't have sugar. You know what I'm saying? You've depleted your
Mm,
body mostly
that's
of
a
sugar.
I,
Yeah.
well, I know that it can
Yeah, that's one of
invoke
the things.
like
Constipation.
some kind of like act like a laxative, maybe. I don't
Yeah, that's what it was. That sugar, that rush of sugar that hit my body, it was a laxative, man. I
know.
was like, oh my God, no, don't make any more Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'd be
yeah,
curious to know, I mean, we could talk about bathroom habits all day long because,
oh yeah, of course.
I
Rick,
mean,
definitely looking for you to sign.
yeah, Rick will comment down there. I'm sure he's one of our few loyal listeners that we still have.
Habit.
But it's
Yeah.
like, what is, you know, I mean, I'm not going to just sit on anything. I'll hover if I have to, but it's, and I have, but most people don't like to sit on public toilet seats. I know you're one of
It's
them,
smart. Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't like it.
Yeah,
I'd
but
rather
you'll
not.
use it. You do I always tease you about your paper
Yeah.
barrier, right? It gives you,
Yeah, I want to have that. I want something. It gives me faith. Okay.
yeah, well, it helps you say, well, this toilet paper is cleaner to sit on than the public toilet seat. And I get it. People are nasty, man. I don't understand it, man. You make a mess of the toilet. You can't tell me they don't see the mess that they made and they don't take the 2 seconds to try to clean up
Yeah,
the
man.
mess that they made.
I
I
try to
don't
leave
get
it.
it. It's
Yeah,
just,
I don't get it.
and
I try
then,
to
and
leave it.
we work in a building of professionals, right? So-called professionals. These are professionals, right? They're
Yeah.
some of the worst offenders of,
But
you
you
know,
got to realize behind the word professional is another word. Okay. This guy might be a professional toilet messer upper. Okay. That
yeah,
might be what he does. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? I'm good at it, bro.
right.
I get
Well,
rave reviews.
you can say that about a lot of things because I mean, people they'll blow up a microwave, they'll clean up after themselves. So they're
True, true.
we have a toaster oven and a toaster and a
It's always
microwave.
crumbs at the bottom
There's
of that thing.
crumbs. I mean, it's like, really, you guys didn't see the crumbs that you made that you
Mhm.
left that weren't there before? You know, I don't get it. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, there
I'm
was
trying
a
to be
term that used to
courteous.
go around, a term that you would go around, and some people may take offense to this, but it's like your mama don't work here. Clean up
Mm.
after yourself, right?
That shouldn't offend anybody because
It
she don't
may
work there.
because people think that the role of a mother isn't just to clean up after their children.
I mean,
You're supposed
nine
to
out of
you're supposed to teach your children to clean up after themselves, right?
yeah, but nah, I mean, yeah,
I mean,
nine
if you
out of
got
10
obvious,
mothers clean up.
well, it infers that everybody has as a toddler, right? You don't necessarily expect a toddler. You wish and want them to clean up we used to have to, my mom, rest her soul, was very strict on us to clean up after ourselves, right? Because
Mhm.
she had other stuff that she had to take care of than worrying about
Mhm.
whether we put our toys away or made our bed or wiped our
Mhm.
butt,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, see if I can do this right. My wife here is
I don't.
very, very much very, very type A, very structured type person. And I love that about her. The fact that, she had this standard and whether my daughters you know, she would fuss at him,
Hmm.
she would fuss at them, but she would still clean up. She would make sure it was where it should be. She made sure that the house was in order, right?
Let me ask you that. Is your wife's traits, what are they? Is this just that was did it come natural to her? Does it seem like it was a natural type thing, to be that type of person to keep things neat and in order, or was it learned behavior? You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
it I think it was kind of a learned behavior because when she was one of seven children, right?
Hmm.
She's
Hmm.
the oldest daughter, but she's not the oldest. So in her family, she had three brothers and
Hmm.
there was four girls. She's the oldest girl. So um, a lot of the household stuff fell on her growing up, right? Not to air a lot of her, whatever, but so she at a very young age was making dinner, cleaning the house. So maybe it was learned behavior for her. I don't know. It was something I'd have to ask her for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and I ask that because some people are just naturally like that, right? They want that
Mm.
even when you see their little dinosaurs, they're lined or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then you got some people that just learn, because this came with the nature of
Well,
their
some people,
environment.
I think some people, in that case about cleanliness is a learned behavior. It very
Mhm.
much is. And for me, I don't like them. I don't like, what that's one of her redeeming qualities that I fell in love with, 40 years ago was that she, uh, she, I mean, she had it all going on. She could cook, she could clean, she was had a career orientation, when she was going to school when I met her to be a nurse,
Mhm.
so she met all these things that bachelor for life guy like myself was like I would never meet somebody that had all those things that I was looking in my life, and she fit that, not to get in too much details of that, but she
Yeah.
fit that picture and she
Mhm.
was great. She still is. She's really um, she takes things too serious sometimes, but she's very much um, outdoor. She's very recluse. Some of the
Mhm.
videos, she's like, I don't want to be in the video. Right? She
You
doesn't.
got her, you got her to
Yeah,
say that in the background. Don't turn that camera on me.
yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She's because you know, women. You may as a guy, we don't. Some people do, but most guys don't care what other people think, right? And she has always been conscious, overly conscious of what people think about her and how she's doing things, in her entire life. She was had a very subconsciously concerned about what other people think. She had a rough growing up. There were seven kids for crying out loud. And just,
Uh-huh.
rural Minnesota, very different. You know, I
Yeah.
know she's probably mad at me about talking about her life growing up, but
Yeah.
different.
I can only imagine.
So I think you're right about a lot of things are learned behavior, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we may not like it as children, you know, but we can appreciate it as we get older, certain things, like we all sit there and go, I wish I was not so a lot of people, are envious of people that are very live in the now, right?
Mhm.
They don't plan, they don't do it, they don't you perceive they don't have the stress about where the future takes them. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of people that live their life day by day. What will be. Where I'm a pseudo planner. She likes everything to be planned out. She's very much a plan. I wants to plan and
Mhm.
timelines and those things. She's very comfortable with those. And I
Yeah.
am too, to a certain extent. If they're reasonable timelines, right? We want to have this
Right.
done by here and here and here. Very good
You were look.
organizer. She is amazing trip planner. she plans all our trips to wherever we go, um, and we just make it happen. Just sit
That's
there.
what's up. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. You'll listen to you look at my plan, you're like, that's not a plan. I'm like, dude, you got so your parameters are so wide, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey man, if
yeah.
we don't get to it, we don't get to it. Hey, but the plan,
Well, that's like like you talk about. You want to take your dad out to Yellowstone out that way,
yeah.
out, you know, go
Hmm.
on a trip. And I will tell you the plan, the very basic plan is when you plan those stuff for that I've learned from her is
Hmm.
where you're going, where you're staying, and what are, you know,
Yeah.
what you
What
want
are
to
the
do. What do
attractions?
you want to accomplish while you're there? Those are the basic things when you plan a vacation or a trip or
Hmm.
where I'm very laissez-faire when it comes
Hmm.
to when I get there, right? I'm just happy to be there with her and what will be will be. There's certain things we can't control. I don't always get spun up on those kind of things. And I know this is going in a direction, this episode's going in a different direction when we thought we were going to talk about.
Hmm.
But planning for those things is just if you're we've had some great trips and we've had some that didn't go as planned, like we went out to Yellowstone recently.
Yeah.
Uh, and the things happened that we weren't unaware of, right? Like the park was closed from this time to this time. We were unaware that you couldn't
Hmm.
traverse through the Yellowstone. Well, the reason being is because there's a season, right? A tourist season up there. Well, there's
Yeah.
like 6 feet of snow. And
Yeah.
we were like, but I was like, well, you cleared it all here up to this point. Why didn't you clear it all,
Hmm.
so we could drive through the park where you wouldn't see nothing because it's 6 feet of snow everywhere or 8 feet or whatever. When
Yeah.
you're alongside the road looking at these huge piles of
Snowdrift.
snow along, yeah, you're like going through a path of snow. That's if you're on a
Walls of snow.
snowmobile, you're good to go, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. But
Did y'all see any bison while you was out there? Or
oh
they
yeah, well
like
there was parts that was open and there was other parts that was not open.
okay.
Right? So
What about that geyser? Were y'all in the vicinity? I know the park is
no,
huge, so I don't know.
we didn't make it to that. We will probably go there again, knowing what we know now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the traffic there is just, I mean, even the time frame that we went and where we went, there was a lot of cars, but it was a great time to go there because the weather was nice. There
Mm-hmm.
was things that we could go and see and do. And, we did a lot of driving in our rented Toyota Camry,
I mean,
which it did very, I was quite surprised with that car. It wasn't as comfortable as I thought it would be.
mm-hmm.
Um, to, I mean, we drove a lot because the park was closed, so we had to go around over these
Mm-hmm.
mountains,
That
I
was
forget.
picturesque in itself. Just
Oh yeah,
driving through the
there was a
mountains and
lot.
stuff.
I mean, we managed and we did things. We went to different places and saw
Mm-hmm.
the, it is amazing that you get out of, we went to Jackson Hole and you get out of Jackson Hole and you go over the mountains, the Tetons.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think of the name initially, but we drive over. You get out there and it's like Wyoming and Idaho and all.
Mm-hmm.
You would think it's all mountainous, right? But it's not.
Yeah,
There's mountains and then there's nothing. Like for as far as you can see, there would be nothing,
nothing. Yeah.
nothing. You'd see a
That's,
farmhouse or whatever, but for
man.
the majority of everything was nothing. Someone
You know,
walking
every
out the
time you
door.
talk about that, Montana, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think about Far Cry 5.
Yeah, we did go up into Montana. We went up to, I can't think of the name of the town
Mhm.
that we were there in Montana. It was one of their big cities.
Did y'all stay? So where exactly were you guys? I'm thinking y'all was in Montana. where you was living at?
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Is
flew into
most part of
Jack.
the park?
We flew into Jackson Hole, which is the southern part of
Okay.
Yellowstone. Yeah,
Gotcha. But it
and
does
then
go up to Montana, right? That's part of it. Part of the park is in Montana, or you don't know.
I don't know. I
I
don't
always
know.
thought part of it was in Montana as well. I just thought it was
It
like,
is. You can get to it from probably Montana. I don't know. What is it?
okay,
Montana, Wyoming, and then
yeah, track,
Idaho.
Idaho. I've been there too. Been to Idaho.
Yeah, it's some. It's like that tri-state area right in that corner. I
Yeah,
think northwest corner of Wyoming, southeastern side of Idaho, and
yeah,
southwestern Montana. I believe I could be. Someone will correct me, either her.
yeah. Come on, it's
Yeah,
straight.
but
Geo.
it's just planning. So get kind of back on track with stuff using how people do things is kind of what it is. But it's just we're all products of society, right? And your
Mm-hmm.
society could be huge or it could be small, right?
Thanks. Now, speaking of society, you was talking about one of those 70s TV shows.
Well,
We had
yeah,
a pretty good conversation about All in the Family
yeah,
and the two societies beginning to merge and intermingle. You know what I'm saying? I think the time frame that it was, like I said, it was 1971. I think
yeah.
the
6 years.
pilot,
Yeah.
civil rights.
So I'd
Yeah,
watched a video of people that had never seen episodes, had never seen the show All in the Family. If you know what it is, you
hmm
know what it is. If you don't, you don't. There's still people today have never seen it, right?
hmm
It had several shows that were spin-offs. I don't know how much time we got. I ain't got the 10-minute warning yet, but
hmm
they were watching it going, and the stuff that was being said, right?
hmm
They were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they were allowed to say this on television." And it wasn't necessarily cuss words, the profanity wise, but
Yeah.
things that in today's where these people, these younger guys were watching this in society, there's things you don't say, that aren't
hmm
because they're considered derogatory or racist or what have you. Well,
hmm
in 1971, when All in the Family aired, and this is my perspective of, and I'm not condoning anything that they said was right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying what it was. And then it was showing that there were people, yeah, there's the 10-minute warning. There was people that were living through a paradigm shift, if you will. And if you don't know what a paradigm shift is, it's a change of way of the norm, right? It's a
hmm
changing, like back in the day when they always knew the earth was flat. And if you went over, you would fall off. We've known this not to be true, except for some flat earthers out there who think that earth is flat.
Just heard a preacher say it the other day. It was like on the flat earth. I don't know if he was
Mm-hmm.
being funny or not, but yeah, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll get into that one of these
That's
days.
a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother episode that we could talk about. But anyways, it was a paradigm shift, right? Where these things that he was saying was the mentality of people as time changes, right? In 1964, 6 years prior to this show coming out, what happened in 1964? Civil Rights Act, right?
The rights, yeah. Hmm
Right, where we said everybody has the same rights, regardless of your color, your skin, your religious belief, whatever. 1964. It was more than just, you know, the right to vote or whatever. You know, it was
hmm
everybody had equal rights. Anyways, so in my perspective of the show at the time was this is how everybody talked. These are the terms that most people use, right? Because it
Right.
was a sensitive time. Is like, how do I say that Bug is black without offending him, right? At the time, the term was colored. You were colored.
hmm
Right?
hmm
Black people were referred to as colored folk.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or
My birth
indifferent.
certificate had the N word on it and
Yeah.
not the one you're thinking. It
Well,
said
that's
Negro.
because at that time, I don't know if they ever put that. Um, I don't think they ever put colored on. Someone correct me on birth
Mhm.
certificates. They didn't use,
Yeah.
they didn't. You use the word N word, right? What the
Yeah. I
term
think they
was.
might have used Caucasian. Yours might say
Um,
Caucasian. I'm not sure.
yeah, I don't know what my. To be honest with you, I don't know. I was born in '65. You were born in '64.
Mhm.
I don't know what my if it has a ethnicity on there. I think it does it say white? Does it say Caucasian? Does it say, idiot? I don't know.
Mhm.
But I'm saying is these were the terms that were, and they were like, I can't believe he said that. And he was using terms that were in referring to Asian people. He called them this, and the he didn't
Mhm.
like the he didn't spare anything. He had a nickname or a derogatory statement for a lot of people, whether they were Greek, Irish, Italian,
Mhm.
Polish. He
Yeah.
had, even his son-in-law, he called him a meathead, and that he was because he was Polish, he called him a Polak, right?
Yeah. hmm
Um, and they were just
His
like, I
wife
can't.
must have been Polish. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know
I
what
think
he. I don't know. And then,
I think
but
so. I
anyways,
mean,
we could sit. But if you watch the show, there was other shows that spin off. The Jeffersons, one of my favorite shows.
hmm
We all watched them in our age group. We all watched these shows because they were on the regular programming of the network.
hmm
The four channels or three channels that we got, there was like either you liked to watch it or you didn't like to watch it. And if you didn't like that, there was another network that had a different show on, right?
right?
But a lot of people related to Archie Bunker on All in the Family or George Jefferson on the
hmm
things that they were dealing with at the time in
hmm
life in general, right? And he was very opinionated about everybody. Both George Jefferson and Archie Bunker were very opinionated of what their life experiences, what they were going through,
hmm
and people
Yeah.
take offense.
Yeah. They were opinionated, and I mean, the characters were racist. All right, both of them were. Um.
Well,
Uh.
were
To
they
a certain
though?
degree.
Were
To a
they?
certain degree. To a certain degree. I mean, they had their, like you said, stereotypes, right? You know what I'm saying?
I,
George Jefferson, you know what I'm saying? He didn't want his daughter being married to a non-black
oh,
person.
well,
And Archie Bunker, same thing. They did agree on that. But
well,
what happened to the good old days when we was just everybody was coloring inside the lines, you know what I'm saying? But now
when you think,
you got mugs.
if you sit and
Yeah.
think of, I mean, I'm looking at it as the perspective of the time, right? What they were dealing
hmm
with in race wasn't just race though. I mean,
hmm
again, I'm one of the people that believe there's only one race when it comes to
Yeah.
humans. It's the human race.
Facts. I
Um,
believe that.
that everybody is different, and your color of your skin doesn't change your race. You're still a human being,
hmm
right? You're still a
True.
human.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe I just wired wrong. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand,
Yeah, I think you're wired right, man. I think that's just, I mean, you got to be able to see that. You know what I'm saying? You got different cultures that understand, hey, these bad boys like to they do stuff different. Some
yeah,
cultures advance, some did not. You know what I'm saying? They chose not to. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Deliberately. Um, us as Americans, as Americans, you may have seen it. We go to cultures, being in the military that's different than ours, or maybe not advanced technologically as us. And sometimes we look down on those bad boys, you know what I'm saying? Because the way they do business. But obviously they got other priorities, you know what I'm saying? Like social type situation. I wish everybody could get out and go to these other countries and see stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on. Our media, I believe, they don't portray what it's really like in some of these other countries. You know what I'm saying? Every place I've been, the people have been friendly, they've been nice. They've got your element. I was when I got off the plane, I was scared. I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna blow me up, right? But when you
But that's
meet these
because,
individuals,
but you thought that
yeah,
because of of a paradigm or misperception that you
yeah,
were, you were
mhm,
trained that, you're, you know, and that's what, you think about that was 50 years ago, over 50 years ago when those two shows were out, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and they
and
had the same thing.
I think both of them were to, they were highlighting the struggles that people were going through in that time frame,
Mhm. I
learning
think
to
go ahead.
changes,
I'll let you
right?
finish.
To
Yeah,
changes of society that
hmm
these things are no longer acceptable, right?
hmm
And they highlighted these things. These are not acceptable in our society in the United States. Even though they still existed and were still happening, they're not
hmm
acceptable, right? And that's where the
right.
controversy comes in. You get more outcry on All in the Family than you do with the Jeffersons, right?
hmm hmm
Because people believe that the Jeffersons had a tougher road because of the color of their skin than, say,
hmm
Archie Bunker did, who outwardly stated his opinion on people that were different, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
he grew up. You just think about it, 60s, Archie Bunker. Let's just say that the character Paul was born in the probably the 30s. You know what I'm saying? And it was
oh, if
more
not,
Jim
yeah,
Crow
if
era.
not, if not
Yeah,
even in the 20s, but either way,
yeah. If not even
we
then.
got less than a minute, so I'll give you 30
Yeah,
seconds before we close out here. What are
gotcha.
your
But yeah, I think it was good. And personally, just to deal with the show, I think it was good. They made humor out of the situation, kind of like Dave
mhm,
Chappelle does. He makes humor out of that stuff, and it brings the sides together. In my opinion, I think it was whoever thought of it was actually genius.
mhm,
Because it was funny. You know what I'm saying? It showed both sides. And like you were saying, the human thing, races on both sides. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Or stereotypes. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? So yeah. So I thought it was good.
Yeah. So on that note,
Well,
we got to close because we're running out of time on this platform that we record. I hope everybody enjoyed the banter. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think, and appreciate each and every one of you. Enjoy
same,
your
same.
week. God bless.